Welcome to the Moms Who Know podcast, the podcast for moms who want to take care of themselves so they can take better care of everyone else. This episode is sponsored by my program, Mind Body Transformation. If you want simple strategies for lifelong health, you'll definitely want to check out this program. Visit momswhoknowpodcast.com to get all the details. Hello and welcome to the Moms Who Know podcast. I am super excited about our show today. Monica Packer is our guest. Monica, thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I am really excited about this show because Monica is someone who I admire. She does an awesome podcast called About Progress that you may have heard of. She is a mom of 4 and her kids are young. Her oldest is 6 and her youngest is a baby. And I just remember those days so well. And they're hard days and good days and, you know, just so much going on. And so it's fun for me to kind of see you, Monica, in this spot and to reflect back about what that was like. And it was hard. So you're awesome. And, you know, I am excited to learn more from you today and how you do it and things that you're learning as you're on this journey. So to start, I want to talk about this phrase, about progress. I know that you call yourself a recovering perfectionist, and I think that goes along with the title of About Progress. So I want to talk about why for you it's about progress and not perfection and kind of what that means to you.
Well, it goes back into my story that I kept close to me for so many years, and I started chatting about a few years ago on my website. I initially started by writing some of my stories of how perfectionism became a terrible vice for me, that it wasn't a positive trait. For me, it turned into some full-blown eating disorders in college. But for years before that, it had also contributed a lot of anxiety, stress, depression, on top of disordered eating, among other things. And for so long, I thought it was just this positive trait, you know, something that I was supposed to aspire to, of trying to be perfect in the here and now, or doing my best. So it wasn't like I knew that wasn't obtainable. I knew it wasn't, but the pursuit of it was just every part of my psyche and what I was doing in my life. And so after I had recovered, or I started my recovery rather, for eating disorders, because it's taken a very long time for me, I then became kind of what I think is the most common perfectionist is, which is an underachieving perfectionist. And this is people who procrastinate, are too scared to try, who put things off, who put their dreams on the back burners and goals, and they're just trying to get by life. You know, they're not progressing really. They're so stymied by fear. And that was me for many years. So I went from this stereotypical perfectionist to what I think is more common, underachieving perfectionists. And neither one of them made me happier. Neither one of them helped me and made me a better person. In fact, I was miserable on both sides of those spectrums. And I did my best to own that what is happy for me is trying. It's still having big goals. It's still working my bum off. It's still allowing myself to dream, but it's also making plenty of room for mistakes and errors and flexibility in life that, you know, happens to all of us, and doing those things and being a little bit more brave, in trying new things, whether they were small to great things, just changed my whole life. And that's my biggest message, is to help men and women, but primarily women who are like me in their 30s and, you know, late 20s, 30s, 40s, get unstuck and find themselves again by trying things that they maybe put off, and trying to grow and learn and just see where that takes them.
That is so good and so interesting, because what I'm hearing is, so this is something I haven't heard it phrased in quite that way of being an underachieving perfectionist. So what I'm hearing is this: you went from, this thinking you had to have it all perfect to still wanting it all perfect, but not doing it because you knew it couldn't be perfect. And so it almost seems like the behavior changed, but the internal thoughts didn't change, right? This perfectionist drive was still there.
Yep. And I think the heart of both sides of those for me was fear. That's a root for sure.
Yeah. So fear of what? Have you dissected that at all and thought about what you're afraid of? Let's hear it. Let's learn more about Monica. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's so many things, but I think primarily it just whittles down to fear of fear of failure is a common one for all of us. But I think what even is behind that is fear of not being good enough, fear of being flawed, like completely to my core.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're right. I think that is something, the fear of failure and then fear of not being good enough that lurks, for a lot of us. And then we can try and try and try, or we can go the other way and just not try, but they both stem from that fear. So I love how you talked about that when we try, that is what makes us happy, and we have to make room for mistakes. Now that's a hard thing. So how have you been able to do that in your life and to give yourself that grace and that room to make those mistakes?
Oh, I think that is learned in the doing. Truly, I think there is no other way. Honestly, I think in trying, you are forced to learn that you also have to accept that you are human and are going to make mistakes, or that your kids are going to, quote unquote, ruin the plans that you had for yourself or your side hobby or whatever it is that day, or just to get sick. I think that's the only way I've really learned to make that room for it. And in terms of, internally, I think it's just allowing myself that thought work to happen, to release the meaning that I've put on my failings and my humanity. So meaning when I do get to the end of the day and I haven't crossed one thing off my to-do list, or I really messed something up that I wanted to be a success, or not as many people are engaging with something I thought was important. Instead of making that about me, I work on the thoughts of making it about, it's just how it is. And I can't make that mean that I am less worthy of trying and growing, and having that distinction between, between it being about me and just about trying, I think is what's helped a lot. So it does involve a lot of thought work and just a lot of mindfulness and being aware of what emotions are coming up for me and what they're really about. And they usually go back to fear of not being enough. And I just have to let that go and remind myself that's not connected. My achievements, my failures, none of it is connected to my worth.
Yeah. Okay. So hard to do sometimes, but such a good reminder, because we all need that reminder sometimes. And that's something that we have to recognize, that anything we do is not connected to our worth. Our worth is just a part of us, no matter what. Even if we mess up really bad, we still have that worth. We still are people of worth.
And that's a problem with perfectionists. I'm sorry, Chanel. I was just going to say that's a problem with perfectionists. They think that their successes measure them, and measure their worth. And because they believe that, they also inherently believe that their failures measure their worth too. And that's just not the case. And getting away from that flawed thinking just gives us freedom to really move forward. I think perfectionists give up often too easily, or they don't give up at the expense of everything else that really matters more to them, like their health and their families. So recognizing that the line of actually improving is all over the place. It's a roller coaster on a chart. It's not a direct up line. I think makes it so you actually do move forward.
Yes, you stumble and one step forward, one step back sometimes, but you over the long term are moving forward. You are progressing. Yeah, even if you can't see it day to day, which brings up what I wanted to get into next, which is dealing with all of this as a mom, because as we know, things in mom life don't go super perfect. And even if you have your day just set up perfectly and everything's going to go great, the kids have their own plans. They have their own meltdowns. They have their own emotions that you're dealing with. And so what are some things that we kind of need to let go of as moms?
Oh, like everything. It's weird. It's like, I think the answer is everything, but I also think that doesn't mean that you can't try that day. So, I mean, I'll just give you my day so far example. I mean, I had gotten up early with the plan of just walking for 20 minutes on my treadmill in the garage before my kids got up. And, I fed the baby, I put him back down, I ran out to the garage, and I couldn't find this cord that connects to the treadmill to make it so you can start it. It's the one that once you pull it, it stops automatically. Yes. And my boys had played with it the day before, and I looked all over the garage. I could not find it. So I just had to give that one up and come inside and just start packing for our trip. And then my kids woke up. We were supposed to be at the gym around 8. I'm not going to go into every little minutia thing, but while I was there, I didn't get there till 8:30. Then the baby pooped 3 times in like a half-hour workout, and I changed him 3 times. And the last time I'm like, I think he actually needs to take a nap. So we get in the car, we run home, and you know what? He doesn't take a nap. So if I was so hell-bent on making sure all those things happen the exact way I wanted, I just would be raging. I'd be raging and blaming my kids. And I would also be mad at myself. I would be resentful. I would be unhappy. Even if I don't show it on the surface, it would be there underneath. But because I have accepted that, man, I tried. Like, instead of looking at it as I didn't work out for the hour I wanted to, I'm saying, oh, I got a half hour in. Instead of looking at, oh, I didn't get to walk for 20 minutes just so I could get my brain some me time before the kids got up, I'm thinking, oh, at least I got a head start on the packing. So I feel like the biggest thing I have learned to let go of personally is making my kids' behaviors and actions and the things that come up influence how I feel and how I know this is really hard. I'm not perfect at this, but recognizing that I had these children and I am responsible for their growth and their learning, and they feel love, but I'm not responsible for their happiness. They choose that. And in return, they are not responsible to make me happy. I choose that. That's probably been my number one lesson of just the last few years.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. I love all those concepts, but I love the thought that just trying is enough. And that idea of letting go of what actually happens. You do your best, and then you let go. If it didn't happen, then oh well, because that's all you could do. And that just sounds like such a happier and more peaceful way to live. And then the frustration. I know when I was a really young mom and I had my oldest, just one kid, which sounds so easy now, but it was so hard when I was
it totally is.
Yes. So I had been, and I even still a little bit when she was born, I worked as an aerobics instructor, and a workout to me was an hour long, and I had to get in that hour. And there were days when all I could do is do a video. And so as soon as I had put her down for her nap, I would go put in, a workout video, and I'd start my hour. And she didn't always stay asleep. She didn't stay on the program, and I couldn't get in that hour. And what a better experience it would have been for me if I could have gone, well, at least I got a half hour today, and had that instead of that frustration that I had, which was, I didn't complete it. I'm not done. And then, even then I'd put her down for her second nap and try to squeeze in the rest of it. And it was just an exercise in frustration, where if you're able to let go of the outcome and say, you know what, I'm going to do a shorter workout now because I'm a mom, or I'll try to do an hour. Maybe it'll work out. If it doesn't, what I get is good enough. I mean, so much more peace and happiness and progress in the long run than fighting with a baby's nap schedule is just never going to work. So I want to talk about how you personally are happier now than you used to be. And we've touched on this a little bit, but kind of what other things have changed as you've changed your focus from progress to perfection, or from perfectionism to progress?
Yes. Okay. So, well, what has changed? You said that has made me happier.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's investing in myself again. I know that seems, I don't know why this is controversial, but it can be. How we say you need to take time for yourself. You need, as moms, you need to have goals. You need to have dreams. You need to do things that are for you. And what I'm not saying is ignore your family for 8 hours a day. I'm not saying that. And nor am I saying your side, like your little hobby you love, that needs to be a business. It's not that either. It's not about where you end up. It's more you need to try. Something that makes you feel good, makes you alive, but also gives you a push. And I dated a guy before I married my husband that I told him, when I am a mom, I want to take some music lessons or some, I want to learn a foreign language. I want to go to school part-time. And I just kind of rattled off the different things I wanted to do along the side. And he said, isn't that selfish? And I just thought, what? It was like, what? Like, break as hard as you can. But you know what? I did buy into that thinking, though. As a young mom, I still thought I am selfish if I take any time away from my kids, because I'm supposed to be 110% there with them, which is an impossible number anyway. But it's okay if you take whatever time it needs to be for you in the day. It's okay if that means your children have to play by themselves. It means it's okay if they're fighting in another room. If you need, and I don't mean to make that seem like a violent thing, but you need to find a way to progress in your own life. And so for me, that meant having some different goals than I did before. That meant dipping my toes into some uncharted water and really putting myself out there. But it also can mean just give yourself an hour to go do a walk outside. That's okay. Or to be creative and to draw or paint. Whatever it is that you keep thinking about that you used to love to do that you just don't make the time for because you don't have quote unquote time, you do have time. And that needs to stop, that thinking that you don't have time. It's okay if you put some chores off, some certain things with your kids off, and make time for you, because I'm telling everybody who's listening, doing that will fulfill you in ways that will make you such a better mom. You'll be able to be so much more present, so much more fulfilled, and you'll be able to show your children too that life is about growth and learning and trying.
Yeah. Oh, I just agree with that so much. It's something that I am super passionate about, is this idea of self-care for moms. We have to take the time and care for ourselves if we want to take care of everybody else. It's just part of the program. And you see it when people don't. They get run down and depleted, and no one is better off. It's just so much better the other way if you can continue to learn and grow. And what a good example you're setting for your kids. If you do those things, study a foreign language or learn music or have a podcast or, any of these things that you are excited about, your kids see that excitement and they realize, mom is growing, and it's a good example for them to want to grow and for them to want to do something that they love. So it's super important.
And the thing, I think a lot of women right now think that what they do isn't important if it's not making them money or giving them thousands of followers on Instagram. And that's such a terrible thing I think we are facing right now. I talk to a lot of women who say, well, I love to draw, but nobody cares about it on Instagram. I'm like, well, why does that matter? Why does it matter that it has to be celebrated on Instagram? And I think because we're looking for validation. We're looking for validation that what we do and who we are is important. And that's really, it's the latter thing that is really the heart of that too, is, undo that thinking that is telling you it has to be important. It doesn't have to be quote unquote important in the eyes of the world to show yourself that I'm important and I'm okay to invest this time in myself, even if it's just a 10-minute bath or, different things like that you need. It doesn't have to be an important thing in the eyes of the world. I don't know. I just want to make that distinction because I think a lot of women fall into that trap.
Yeah, I think you're so right. And it's just so easy with social media for all of us to fall into that trap instead of, just enjoying what we're doing, learning a song on the piano just to learn it, practicing just because we love the moment. Then we want everyone to see it and like it and validate that what we're doing is important. And I think that is especially a trap that moms can fall into because you don't get a lot of validation as a mom with young kids. You can make a beautiful dinner and I don't know about your kids, but my kids are going to say, ew, can I have an alternate? Ew, what's for dinner?
Yes.
Before they even know what's for dinner, my kids will sometimes say, can I have something else? What? No, you can't have something else. I made you a good dinner. So, and all on and on, right? Cleaning, all this stuff. We don't get a lot of validation as moms. And so sometimes we are prone to seeking that elsewhere. But if we can let go of that and say, that's not the reason. It's for me because this fills me. This fills my soul. This makes me feel happy. I enjoy doing this. And that is the only end I need. I don't need anyone else to care about it. And that's okay. If it's all for me, that's okay. Not selfish.
Yes. And I think that's a huge distinction you're making too. Like if it's important to you, then that's why you do it. Not because anyone's going to give you a pat on the back, but you can give yourself your own pat on the back. Sometimes I say out loud to myself, good job, Monica. If I handled a tough situation, or, if I did a chore that I didn't want to do, but I love the clean after, so I do it anyway. So giving myself my own validation also helps with those moments.
Yes. And I've done a lot of studies on habit formation and that good job, Monica, that is actually, something that really helps to reinforce things we want to do. And so don't be afraid, you guys, to do a little happy dance. Give yourself a literal pat on the back, say Good job, do it. Like you deserve that. And that's okay. Your kids might not know yet to tell you, but you can tell yourself and it counts and it matters and it still gives you those good feelings and positive reinforcement. So,
I don't know who it was, but someone said that when they make a dinner and, everyone's eating, nobody says, oh, good dinner. This is awesome. She just says it. Okay. Wow. This is a good dinner, huh? Wow. This tastes really good. And she's not looking for the kids to be like, She's just like, that's, she's modeling. I'm going to be proud of myself. I'm going to give myself my own validation and not out of bitterness, but just like, yeah, I did a good job.
Yeah, just acknowledging the fact. It just is good. So yeah, I love it. That's good stuff. Now, as we all are in this process of learning how to be moms and how to, navigate this process of self-growth and growth in this role as a mom, I want to hear a little bit about some of the things that you're learning in this process and some things you had wished you had known before you got started, things that you're learning now and kind of what this whole mom life process is like for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, we could talk for a whole hour about what I've learned, but one of the funny things I've learned recently is, yes, your babies sleep better if there's a loud sound machine in a really dark room. And it took me to my fourth kid to really own that, which is so funny. But so there's little things like that. But I think like the bigger underlying things, what would I say? One of my biggest things I've learned, I've kind of talked about this a little bit, but essentially it's not about me. And when I say that, I'm not, like I've said, you don't stake your happiness on your kids' behavior, but I also mean I'm not going to make it about me if they have a bad day. I'm also not going to make it about me if they're amazing and have big accomplishments, because they are who they are when they come. My number one job is to show them as much love as possible and as much effort. And what I mean by that is not perfection as a parent, but I mean that I'm going to show them I'm doing my best to love them, and I'm going to do my best to own my mistakes. But my number one job is to show them love and acceptance and provide a path. But I have to respect that they are who they are. I cannot change them. I cannot take credit for who they are, for the good or the bad. And having that mindset shift has freed me a lot, because I have some pretty big personality children, and that can be really, really difficult, honestly. Because I guess I might have a big personality too, and those can often butt heads. But just owning that my one job is to love them and show them the way, and then that's it. That has freed me to actually enjoy it more and to relax when everything goes to pot.
Yes, I agree. My mom told me that a long time ago, she came to that realization that all she had to do was love her kids. She thought like, oh, this is so hard to be a mom. And then she realized, well, my big job is to love them, and I can do that. And then she went on to have 8 kids and just kept having, she thought, I can do it. If what it requires is love, then I can do it. Yeah. And I think that is very freeing, what you talked about, that we are not responsible for their good or their bad. And yes, we can be proud of them and take joy in it. And we can be disappointed when they don't, do something that we had wished they would do. But it's different than taking that on yourself and feeling responsible for it. And it's so freeing, because then if they mess up, like, you don't have to take that on you, that you did it, because you don't control your kids. And so that just is a process of letting go of the outcome, like you talked about earlier. And kind of that brings us full circle, into we love them, we teach them, we do everything we can. But at the end of the day, they're their own people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they'll continue to be that through adulthood. And I think if they know that that love and that model of what we like them to be and interact with the world is there, as they move into adulthood and become, more of who they want to be, hopefully that also means they know that they can know we are there to always love and accept them. I think that's going to make our connections more long lasting and deeper.
Definitely. Well, I think that this is just such a good topic today. I think it's a good reminder for all of us, because I think no matter where we fall on that, perfectionist spectrum, that there's a little bit of that in all of us. And we can all learn from these ideas that you've talked about today. So thank you so much for being on the show.
No, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for listening to Moms Who Know. I hope you enjoyed that fun conversation with Monica. I think she just has so much wisdom and provides really so much hope for young moms. I wish I had that perspective when I was where she is. If you want the show notes, be sure to visit momswhoknowpodcast.com. And if you want more with Monica, you can go to her podcast, About Progress, where I will be a guest pretty soon. Now, if you are loving the podcast, the kindest thing you could do is to share it with other people and help me get the word out. So I would appreciate that, and we'll see you next week.